and it's 10 o'clock, so we shall begin. Welcome to everybody to attending today's Economic Development and Skills Policy Committee. Obviously, the meeting is open to the public and will be live webcast. And if anybody's got any mobile phones that they've got switched on, then to save any embarrassment, just switch them off now. And there is no fire test planned for today, so if there is one, then it's real and we need to act. Sorry, there's a list. Well, it tells me where we need to go, which is the assembly point on Tudor Square. So hopefully there'll be nothing like that. So we'll begin by introducing everybody. My name is Councillor Mohammed Mahroof. I'm the chair of the Economic Development, Skills and Culture Policy Committee, and I'll start on my left.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. My name is Councillor Ibby Ullah, Councillor for Netherwich and Sharrow Ward. I'm also the Deputy Chair of this committee. Chair, I'd like to point out that my colleague, Nikki Belfield, has given her apologies. Thank you.
Hi, Minesh Parekh, Labour and Cooperative Councillor for Crooks and Crosspool. I'm also having to give apologies halfway through the meeting as well.
Hello, Councillor Mark Whittaker, Councillor for Stocksbridge and Upper Don. Thank you.
Morning, Councillor Denise Fox, Local Councillor for Burley Ward.
Henry Nottage, Member for Hillsborough Ward.
Good morning, Barbara Masters, Councillor for Ecclesall Ward.
Councillor Rob Rice, Councillor for East Ecclesfield Ward.
Thank you very much for that. And just the top table now, Sherry. Start with yourself.
Hi, hello, Sherry Grant. I'm the Assistant Director of Legal. Fiona Martinez, Principal Democratic Services Officer.
Sorry, that's fine. Thank you for that. The officers will introduce themselves as and when their reports actually come up. In terms of apologies, we have an apology from Councillor Nikki Belfield, and Councillor Minesh Parekh would be leaving at 11:15-ish. So that's the apologies done. Exclusion of the public and press. I don't think we've got anything that will exclude the public and press today, so everybody can remain. Members' declarations of interest. Do any members want to declare any interest? Looking around, no. Minutes of the previous meeting. I'm assuming all members have read them. If there are any issues, then please shout up. Otherwise, we'll take it as the minutes are correct. It's fine, Fiona, they're correct. Okay, yeah. So that's fine. Public petitions, questions and statements. I don't think we have any, do we? Members' questions, we do have some. And I think we've given written answers to Councillor Parekh. So if there's any follow-up questions from Councillor Parekh, then I'm prepared to take them, but I think we've given you a comprehensive response to most of them.
I think my only follow-up is in response to question 3. I did ask specifically around what assessment we've made of the impact on organisations with a rateable value below 500,000. I think the response only really talks to those with a rateable value above 500,000.
Yeah. No, thank you very much for that question. I think it's something that is evolving, to be honest with you. Once we know what the rating valuations are, then I think we'll get there. I do know a little bit about this part of the business rates part of it, because I think there's going to be a reval at some stage, and that will have an effect on what it will be. So the cumulative effect may well be that it's not as strong an effect on them as you probably expected it to be. But I think the business colleagues will work on this, and following this, we will be able to give you a far more detailed response to that. Thank you. Work programme, Fiona.
Good morning, everybody. So this is your standing work programme item for the EDSC Policy Committee. On page 24, you will be able to see our new items and our amended items. We've got a couple that have been added, 3 that have been added there, 2 for February, and 1 is the LGBTQ plus quarter update, which is something that was requested at our last meeting to be added to the work programme. That's still awaiting a date, but it has been added to the work programme. Regarding the amended items there, we've got a heritage update, which we're just waiting on some more information before we can give that a date on our work programme. The South Yorkshire Investment Zone, which will be coming in March. And then we have another item there, which has been combined with a different item that we're doing today. So the DWP funding extension was originally going to come on its own. It's now being incorporated into our Economic Inactivity Trailblazer report. If anybody has any questions, do let me know. What I would say is we have got less items on our future meetings. I know our chair is eager to keep these meetings, you know, with smaller number of items so we can get into some detail. But if there are any items that you would like to add to the work programme, please feel free to raise those now. Thank you.
Thank you, Fiona. A question from Councillor Masters.
Thank you for that. It's really rises about the heritage update to be confirmed. Right, I mean, I notice elsewhere in the packet says about, you know, the hiring a heritage officer, but, and so I'm hoping there'll be more direct positive information about that. But with the changes to the funding for the apprenticeship schemes, I've been told that certain traditional crafts are not going to be funded under the scheme, and that actually affects our heritage buildings, well, or heritage basically. So can there be something done about the impact of the apprentices? I'm sorry about the muddled words, but basically I'd like to know what impact that will have on the lack of funding for the craft apprentices, you know, traditional craft apprenticeship schemes under the government's changes. Thank you. I think I've got that out.
Yeah, no problem. I'll feed that back.
Thank you for that, Councillor Masters. You've sorry, Councillor Nottage.
Could I just sort of add a request to that one, that we identify which crafts that are on the red list we do and don't have apprenticeships for?
No problem.
Thank you very much for that. I think I did mention previously, and you just reminded me about both of you, that we do want an item on apprenticeships as a future work programme. So I think this side of in the next few months will be quite good.
Yeah, no problem. I'll make sure that's added.
I think we move on to page 31 of the agenda pack, which is the Pathways to Work 26-27, which I think is being presented by Laura and Richard. Thank you very much. Just give a brief synopsis of it, and I think members have been briefed on it before and probably read the report as well. So just give us a brief outline of the report. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. So we're here with a paper about the Economic Inactivity Trailblazer, but also the people and skills element of UK SPF. The Employment and Skills Service known as Opportunity Sheffield has been running the Pathways to Work programme over the last year, as you're all well aware, which encompasses the Economic Inactivity Trailblazer, UK SPF provision, and, as you know, Connect to Work now that we brought to committee last time. The issue has been that the Trailblazer funding and the UK SPF funding has been coming to an end, as I know you're all well aware. But we have had news from government now that the Trailblazer is being extended by a year, and that UK SPF is being replaced by the Local Growth Fund. Not quite as much funds, but still funding. Whilst we've not got a contract at the moment, the government are moving forward with the agreement with the South Yorkshire Mayoral Combined Authority. But we need to make sure that the service doesn't have a break. So we're coming to committee to ask for when that contract does arrive to accept the funding both for the Economic Inactivity Trailblazer, which is just over £3 million, and the Local Growth Fund, the People and Skills allocation of which is 2.2 million.
Apologies not having a name tag. Richard Smith, Head of Lifelong Learning and Skills. As part of the previous settlement under UKSBF, there was funding allocated between 2022 and 2024 for a specific numeracy programme, adult skills numeracy programme called Multiply. We took the decision, that finished at the end of March 2025, and we took the decision using the UKSBF funding that we had for this financial year to continue at a smaller scale, but to continue the good work that Multiply had started. So it's no longer the Multiply programme in a national sense, but locally we are still developing numeracy skills amongst adults. And so part of this settlement moving forward is, again, as Laura says, a reduced amount, but nonetheless a continuation of that numeracy programme, but with a focus on numeracy for out-of-work individuals, whereas the previous Multiply programme had elements which were for people in work. So very much aligned with the rest of the programmes and very much with the intent of supporting people with numeracy to find work, through numeracy to find work. We would like to seek the approval of the committee to allow us to begin to mobilise the system, mobilise providers within the system to enable commissioning to begin for 26-27. We know that obviously without the agreement and the final settlement, that mobilisation will only be able to take to a certain point. Beyond that, if we haven't had the final settlement, we will be trying to move forward in order to keep the seamless transition that Laura mentioned, on the understanding that any awards that are made are done so at risk, and we'll do that with the authority of the Chief Executive, Kate Josephs, and the Finance Director, Philip Gregory.
And so we were advised in the pre-committee meeting that the best way to help make this decision was to run through some of the successes and learning that we've had during the first 6 months of delivery of the programme this year. So we've prepared a short presentation about that. Okay, so it was in July 2024 that Liz Kendall came to South Yorkshire to launch the Pathways to Work Commission, which had a deep dive into the issues around rising economic inactivity across the country and felt heavily in South Yorkshire. And as you'll remember, this was a really good example of policy from the ground up that had a direct impact on the Get Britain Working White Paper, which then went on to announce the Economic Inactivity Trailblazer. So it's fair to say that South Yorkshire were really ahead of the game with this, and had been doing some planning and had the advantage of a well-established and trusted and talented voluntary and community sector who are able to provide employment support to some underserviced communities in Sheffield. It was a big ask, massively high targets, looking at more than three times the amount of jobs that the service had been able to get in past years. So really ambitious. And I'm pleased to say that we were able to mobilise very quickly so that we were the first in the country to be delivering on this project and the first in South Yorkshire. And we've expanded the services that are offered in the most deprived wards and communities within Sheffield, and expanded the provision to underserviced groups. And we've also been able to use some of the funding to do some quite exciting test and learn and innovative projects, including, for example, having somebody based and embedded within the probation service in Sheffield. And I caught upon some work yesterday being done by our Voice and Influence team with people who are care experienced, and that's going really well. I'd say the main challenge that we've faced is the job market at the moment. It's a difficult time out there for reasons we've discussed. Some government policy isn't necessarily helping in that area, and we've got a concerning reduction in entry-level jobs, which are 97% of the jobs that we are achieving within this programme. But moving on to the figures for the first 6 months. So we're working with this is the Economic Inactivity Trailblazer, I should say, and we're working with well over 1,000 economically inactive people across the city, or rather the voluntary and community sector are. and there's already over 270 job outcomes for that cohort, which has been challenging, but a fantastic outcome so far. So we're not far behind that profile. I'll put on there some of the demographics as well, because I think it's interesting that over a third of the people on that programme are from the 10% most deprived through the indices of multiple deprivation. And then it's over 2/3 of the cohorts are in the 3 most disadvantaged areas. So it shows that it's really managing to engage with people who were supposed to. A couple of other interesting findings on there. So ethnic minority community make up more of the economically inactive cohort in Sheffield than in any other core city. But you can see that there's about 2/3 of people on this programme are from the ethnic minority community. So those engagements are working well. And we've been actually quite surprised by the amount of young people who have engaged with the programme. 1/3 are from the 16 to 24 age group, but I suppose that does reflect the fact that 18 to 24-year-olds are the biggest rising cohort within economically inactive people. Moving on to the UK SPF provision, which we've sort of wrapped around that Trailblazer, and is supporting those who are unemployed but can't get the support they need to get into work from the mainstream job centre service. You can see from this that we've got, again, over 900 participants, so it really is a lot of people that the service and its partners are working with, and over 120 people into work. Slightly different demographics in this, so you can see that actually only 50% of this programme is made up from the ethnic minority community, suggesting that the white British cohort are more likely to be engaged with the job centre and using the services than the economically inactive. And then moving on to the in-work support. So we know that Sheffield and South Yorkshire has an issue with a low-paid and low-skilled equilibrium. We've got lots of people in low-paid, low-skilled work. So the idea with this programme is to really support those individuals to maintain, remain in work and progress in work. And a big part of that is providing the training opportunities. So you can see that there's 40 people so far completed a qualification, which is quite good going to say that we're only 6 months into a programme, and obviously qualifications take a while to complete. So really on track to do well with that area of the work as well. Pass over to Richard.
So as I mentioned earlier, we've maintained the programme, we've maintained the title multiplier, but effectively short numeracy programmes for adults who are not in employment. Again, we've exceeded where we thought we would be at this point in the year, with 759 people engaging in these numeracy programmes. So that's a continuation of what we saw when the national numeracy programme was active and beyond. So we've year on year outperformed our statistics and actually have received some additional funding through SIMCA because of underperformance elsewhere in the region. One of the measures that's on that slide, probably quite difficult to see, is that we'd set ourselves a target in terms of outcomes, that's the SIMCA measure of people moving into qualification-based numeracy. So multiply programmes are, by their nature, engagement programmes, but we are double where we expected to be at the end of October. Although the numbers might look relatively modest, 30 currently, as I say, double where we expect it to be, and the outcomes are more than just people moving into qualification-based numeracy programmes. I think overall, about 3/4 of the people that engage with Multiply go on to further learning and education outcomes. So it's that pathway, it's that engagement at the very beginning that we think is important to maintain if we can.
So that concludes our presentation, but we've got a couple of 2-minute videos just to show you a participant that has been on the programme and then separately one of the providers who provides both employment support and multiply delivery to show how we're mixing that in communities. Oh, and it's gone off. Okay, I'm hoping that someone else is going to sort the video. Great, thank you.
I wasn't exactly sure what job I wanted. All I really knew was that I liked working with
people and the customers. She's lovely with children. She's just done so well. She's a really good member, like I said, at team, and I'm just quite impressed with how open she is to feedback and coaching, and she's just very enthusiastic, and she's doing very well. Customers like to talk to her, she's very approachable, and she's picked the job up really quickly. Very impressed with her.
When I first started with Opportunity Sheffield, I met up with Amber, and she was the one who helped me with the one-to-one support, which made a huge difference, because being able to have that support from one person in front of you that's just there to help you is so different a dynamic than when you're sort of in a group setting or a classroom. But when you have just that one person sat with you saying, hey, I'm here, let's help, let's do this, it makes a world of difference.
My name is Mohammed, and I'm the CEO and founder of Infinite Skills. Infinite Skills is a non-profit organization supporting people from disadvantaged backgrounds to upskill, both academically and professionally. We do that by accredited training courses, workshops, and community initiatives. A lot of the people that we work with are from low-income families, ethnic minority communities. At times, they have barriers that are stopping them from fulfilling their full potentials. The Opportunity Sheffield Pathways to Work contract specifically targets ethnic minority community, those who are furthest removed from the job market, especially targeting the economic inactive, so those who are not in education, employment training, or haven't been in the workplace or in employment.
My name is Françoise Yongo Kingambo. I had been out of work for around 4 years. During that time, I was really struggling to find anything suitable, and I had lost hope. I felt like my age was a big barrier. They helped me in so many ways. They helped me build a professional CV, apply for the right job, and prepare for interview, and that really gave me back my confidence.
My name is Abdusamad Ali. So I'd been out of work and education for about a couple months. Came to Infinite Skills just to find the right information to know how to apply for jobs or an apprenticeship. My job coach helped me create a CV for myself and understand what websites I was meant to apply on. They have really benefited me a lot. They have helped me understand, the jobs that I could get, and I feel a lot more confident now.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions? Councillor Nottage and then Councillor Masters.
Thanks a lot for the report and the presentation. There's really positive stuff in there. I've got a few questions. You mentioned right at the start that we've been given a very high target. given the amazing progress so far, do you think that target's now sort of realistic and achievable?
So the target that was really high was for the Economic Inactivity Trailblazer, which is 800 jobs by the end of the year. We're over 300 now. We've got until March to achieve it. I think we will be there or thereabouts, but might not quite get there. But now it's been extended for a year. The thing is, we've had to, as I explained, the target was over 3 times that it had been in previous years. Obviously, we didn't have the capacity either within our own team or within the voluntary and community sector. So whilst those contracts were awarded to start delivery at the beginning of April, and there was some capacity within the system, there wasn't enough. So some of that capacity has had to be built up over the year. What we really hope is that we can go into next year full of capacity, able to hit the ground running and make that, very ambitious target, very realistic for next year. But, we have our Economic and Activity Trailblazer of the 8 awarded across the country. South Yorkshire is ahead of all of those others, as we've been told by the Mayoral Combined Authority, and Sheffield is leading the way in South Yorkshire amongst the local authorities for the job outcomes. So we're doing a good job, I think.
Grant, you said we had a current cohort of 900 and we've had 270 positive exits into employment. How many negative exits have we had in terms of people disengaging with the programme?
So the figures that you quote there are from the UK SPF provision. So in addition to that, there's 1,000 economically inactive people on the other programme, although we do try and make it seamless and not talk about programmes, and over 300 people that have gone into work on that programme too. So across the two, I couldn't give you an exact figure but I can certainly return with that. But, the majority of those people, they have a number of barriers to break down, and therefore it takes time over the year to work with them, so that it won't be that the vast majority will still be on the programme but be working towards a positive outcome and taking those, achieving those milestones on the journey.
Grand, and I've got a horrible feeling I know the answer to the next question. It sounds like we're really building momentum with this programme, and I doubt anyone is going to not accept the funding from SIMCA for 26-27. But has either SIMCA or the government mentioned any funding beyond 27?
So the local growth fund, which is the replacement for UK SPF, is part of the integrated settlement, but is reducing year on year. Is being, obviously the SIMCA have got a growth plan to deliver, so they've got a lot of new things that they want to look at with that funding. So it's uncertain for people and skills on that side. The Trailblazer is probably an even worse situation in that it's been extended for a year. It's not part of the integrated settlement, so we do not know what will happen beyond 26-27. The hope is that the proof of concept of the Trailblazer is that it's really addressing what is a national problem, and that best practice is being led from South Yorkshire, but who knows?
Right, well, I really hope we find some sort of longer term funding solution for this. Great stuff.
Henry.
Thank you, Councillor Masters.
Thank you, and thank you for that. It's just a clarity on a couple of points and examples in the second question. Right, okay, so on page 37 you say that sort of because we approved the a separate budget for autism and learning difficulties, etc., then that meant we could sort of use the funding saved to fund, the other streams. But on page 43, it's actually got quite a long list. Now, is the funding of extra things not just sort of autism, homelessness, but you've got veterans and partners, carers, and all the rest, substance abuse. Is it a case that the budget we've approved actually sort of covers all those cohorts, or is this just a case that this is what we agreed on originally, and you've just expanded what, to make it clear what we've agreed.
Yeah, it's very complicated. So basically, some of those groups this year have been supported through the Economic Inactivity Trailblazer in UK SPF. Last committee, I brought the Connect to Work approval to committee, and that is a programme that is set up for those specific groups you talk about, and that's why we're able to sort of take slightly less local growth funding this year, because Connect to Work will work with some of those other cohorts and sort of displace some of that provision. But yes, all the cohorts talked about in the paper are planned to be worked with over the next year.
And did you expand that cohort? You know, from our decision 25, did you expand the cohort for it's no good, I'm no good with acronyms. What do you call it? Connect to Work.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. So Connect to Work is a specific model called individual placement and support. Some of that provision is ideal for some of those cohorts, but we will continue to work with them on the other programmes where it's more suitable as well. So yes, it's an expansion.
Yeah. And the second thing is, can you give some examples of these in-work employments, the support, the kinds of employments you have provided the in-work support for? Are they sort of public sector, private sector, mixed, what?
They're a real mix, but we focus that work on employees of small to medium enterprises. So the idea with sort of, you know, we wouldn't, for instance, be providing to the local authority because, you know, the idea is that, you know, larger employers should be able to have, you know, decent HR functions and training departments and all the rest. So this is about SMEs who have employees who've got talent and potential but don't really have the time or know where to look for the training that will progress the individuals. So it's across a range of sectors, but I could bring the breakdown to a future committee if wanted.
Thank you for that.
Cheers, Barbara.
Thank you, Chair. I'm interested in general trends with this. I know it's very early days, but it's difficult to change a whole culture of inactivity in a short period of time. But generally, is an awareness growing of a need for this culture to change? Generally, would you say that you get full cooperation from those you support, or are there still those who try to thwart your attempts to help them? Thank you.
I mean, this is a voluntary programme. It's not mandated by the Job Centre or anybody. So the people that engage with the programme are the people that engage with it. There are, I have some concerns that we maybe have less people with long-term health conditions that are on long-term benefits signing up to the programme than I would like. But as I showed with some of the breakdown of statistics, it's clearly reaching those most deprived communities and clearly reaching other groups such as young people, people from ethnic minority backgrounds that are underrepresented in the labour market. I think the difference of the programme, you know, the people that are economically inactive by employment status almost do not want to engage with civic organisations, and therefore the fact that we're over profile with the engagements that have been made through the voluntary and community sector show that this is a programme with a difference, a way of working with people in their community or amongst other people from different groups that they want to work with, that is providing that trusted support, which, as I say, is not mandatory. So we're definitely making progress, but there's much more progress to be made, I think.
I think as well the statistics that Laura shared around young people have been surprising to us, but perhaps reflective of the national challenge of nearly 1 million young people that are 16 to 24 who are currently unemployed or economically inactive. So the fact that those young people are seeking this out as an opportunity, we recently did a survey of young people that are not in education, employment and training, and overwhelmingly they were saying to us they wanted to work, which was interesting. We assumed it would be more educational opportunities that they wanted. So I think opportunities that are being offered to them here are being taken up, which, while surprising, is encouraging, because obviously that generation will become the long-term economically inactive if we don't support them now. So just to add to what Laura said.
Councillor Rice, please.
Firstly, thank you for the work that you've put in to this programme and these initiatives for the last year, and some of the numbers are coming out positive. I note that the expansion into underserved areas, especially in places like Low Edges and Stocksbridge, which have seen lower uptake, and is welcome, and the numbers of kind of white working class people accessing it is music to my ears, and I'm thankful for that. I've lost the page. Just confirm for me, my memory's a bit bad this morning. You said that you have someone embedded in the probation service, is that correct? I'll take the nod. And the expansion through the Connect to Work scheme 26-27, the key cohorts are under the individual placement support service, homeless, ex-offenders, refugees, domestic abuse, modern slavery, young people exposed to violence, veterans and partners, carers and ex-carers, and substance misuse. Are you having conversations with the Integrated Care Board? And I think you also mentioned some of the extra barriers to getting into employment, getting that training, that sometimes for people this is a symptom of a wider kind of life issues regarding wider life circumstances. Have you got, and will you be hoping to get connections into integrated care boards, but also local veterans associations, kind of on a send someone to them, get them to send someone to us, so that we can improve the uptake in a way that we've had with the probation service?
Yes. So the Integrated Care Board were also awarded a Growth Accelerator programme, which was one of the other Trailblazers. And so we have a governance system now where the ICB and the MCA, which includes Kate Josephs as the chair of that governance group, working together right at the top, and then that is replicated going down to place level, if you like. We're also taken this, the IPS programme that you talk about under Connect to Work, to the Mental Health Board and to one of the social care boards, I can't remember the exact title of it, to talk to them. And that has representatives both from public health but also the ICB on it. You know, there's some interesting cohorts within there. So we have Likewise in Sheffield that offers support to people with substance misuse issues. So we've had conversations with them. There's the Sheffield Carers Service, and so we're talking to them and just really trying to get the specialist providers who are able to support those groups and really consult with them so that we can understand the needs. In terms of the local veterans, I've spoken to the person within the council who's responsible for that. The difficulty that we may have with that is that there isn't a very large critical mass of veterans who are seeking employment in Sheffield. There's only about 4,000 veterans who are of working age, and a lot of them are working, and some of them consider themselves sort of civilians. So, but hopefully that gives you enough flavour that we've really tried to delve into you know, the organisations that are specialist with these groups, because we're not.
Thank you. Councillor Ullah.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I really welcome the fact that the Trailblazer programme has been extended by another 1 year, and also I agree with Henry that I hope this continues further on for many more years. Laura and Richard, thank you for your presentation, especially visual presentation. It's really effective. I'd like to also commend your team for strong year one performance, particularly high engagement levels, strong job outcomes, and our leading position regionally. And it's also encouraging to see that this has been expanded into some of our most deprived communities. That's something that I've always wanted to see. Given my question is really in relation to the bar chart and the ethnicity. I understand why there is high-level participants from BAME communities. I'm a member of the BAME community. There are really good reasons for that. What more can we do to get more participants from the white British community? As that's something we can look into going into the future months and future years. Thank you.
As I say, I don't think it's necessarily a negative thing, because particularly amongst the economically inactive, we know that there is a really high representation of people from Black and Asian minority ethnic groups. And then when we moved on to look at the project that looked at the unemployed people, was actually far bigger amounts of white British people on that. But we are very conscious, and that's Richard and I have lots of discussions about it, making sure that we are also really positively targeting those groups. And that's why we've done some work around like making sure that we've got better representation in some of those areas. So for instance, Councillor Rees mentioned about the fact that we've managed to get some employment support and some basic skills provision actually in Stocksbridge for the first time this year by working with the Stocksbridge Town Enterprise Partnership. So it's really about making sure we are very present in the communities that need us.
We and the community organisations that we work with as well, I think that's something that we, from an adult learning point of view, that's something we're very conscious of, and it's been raised here before. So we're not there yet in terms of an equity of distribution in terms of the engagement we get, but I think the community organisations are also critical to us in this, as well as the co-location of our services that Laura's mentioned. So happy to come back and continue to present on where we shift the dial on that front.
Councillor Fox, please.
Thank you, Chair. Excellent news. It's really good reading. We're pleased that we're exceeding the expectations. However, I just had a concern of, you mentioned employers nervous about expanding the workforce. So is there actually the jobs around for these people? Because I'd hate to think that we are training them to a situation and then the jobs aren't available. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, it's the biggest challenge at the moment, and it's not the majority of what we're talking about here is an employment programme, not a training programme. So it's not, you know, the work that we're doing with businesses and with people is, you know, it's demand-led. It's led by the vacancies that are available, but they, you know, there is a worry that both there's a difficulty with expanding the workforce at the moment, and there is also, you know, predictions in the labour market that entry-level jobs will decline. So at the moment, you know, the percentages of people that we're engaging going into work is really positive. So it's not a concern as we sit here and now, it's a challenge as we sit here and now. But there are worries for the future, and that's undeniable.
Thank you. Councillor Parekh, your question, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you both for your presentations. I've got a comment and then a question. I think following on from Councillor Ullah's question as well, I guess it's probably worth clarifying, or my indication is that the relatively high representation of people on some of these training courses also reflects very good practice from the teams in reaching out to people in communities that we haven't reached before. I know I had initial conversations with Infinite Skills a couple of years ago where they were talking about the support they could offer and wanting to reach into the council. I think what we're seeing in these stats is a reflection of a lot of good work as well, so I wouldn't want to give the indication that that is being undervalued. I note the report mentions that business development officers have been championing inclusive recruitment in their work with employers. I wondered if you could talk a bit about maybe some of the employers where we're seeing really good practice, or where we've seen good practice develop through our engagement with them, because I think there are those wider benefits that we're seeing from this programme where we can see a wider impact on, I guess, the employment landscape of the city. Are there is there anyone you'd like to shout out? I know we've seen some in some of the videos previously, but yeah, really good to capture that as well.
Yeah, so that work is quite in its infancy, but the way we've approached it in Sheffield is to work with the Pride of Place Board, who are a group of employers and are very signed up to inclusive recruitment. You know, they're organisations like Henry Boots and HLM Architects that are, you know, big firms, have corporate social responsibility and are supporting us in working and sort of demonstrating good practice with some SMEs in Sheffield. But the work, so there was an event that around 300 people turned up to, called Opening Doors, which was all about inclusive recruitment and used some of the best practice that's been gained from business in the community. That is now to be followed up with a series of workshops, because it's quite easy to convince some larger organisations with corporate social responsibility to support and demonstrate this type of work, but that isn't going to shift the dial. What's going to shift the dial is if we can get to those SMEs and have a look at some of their recruitment, but also their practices in terms of supporting and maintaining and retaining employees. The other thing that there is through the Growth Accelerator is an expansion of occupational health. So there's now some clinical support for employees who are struggling to retain work, which is being offered in Sheffield and in South Yorkshire. So we also, you know, that's another bit of innovation that we wait to see if that has the outcomes that are desired.
Thank you for that. I think I'll draw a line under this after Barbara's question.
Thank you for that. Sort of just on that last point, you know, sort of I'm really welcome the fact that apprenticeships will be looked at in the work stream, because this obviously will impact on what you're doing. But my comment is, you're surprised at the uptake from the 16 to 18-year-olds. They're the COVID generation and they've had a very disrupted education. So is that experience reflected in what you see when you're trying to engage with them? Because I suspect that it would be a different cohort to those who deliberately exclude themselves from education. So I'm just wondering about whether you've seen any signs of that.
If I just come in on that first, Laura might have other things to add, but from that generation, from the young people that are coming through, the surprise element of it, I suppose, is that the assumption is they would want to continue in their education, and actually when they leave school, young people, through the surveys that we've done, are initially looking for education, but the barriers that they've reflected back to us, again, through the survey work that we've done, this is their voice, is anxiety, mental health. It's a feeling that their needs weren't being met at school. So I think, you know, you could pin a lot of that on the experience that they went through COVID. I'm not sure that COVID on its own is the reason for that. I think it's accelerated some of the pre-existing trends that we were seeing in that population, which may be linked to other social factors, but it has accelerated it, and their voice, which is clearly the most important in terms of understanding the need, is very much in line with what you've just said. In terms of what that translates to in supporting to work, the willingness is that they want to work, but they recognise they need some of the support that Laura's services can offer.
Yeah, I suppose the other thing is that I'd thought that because those young people are very in touch with the local authority, that actually that was the best way to engage with those people. But it turns out that actually a lot of, and it's not just 16 and 17-year-olds, it's 16 to 24-year-olds that make up a big part of the programme, but that they are actively engaging with the voluntary and community sector. So that's interesting and good.
Thank you very much for that. I think we've all had a very good debate on this. I think everybody's asked a question or a follow-up question, because I really do believe this is a very important subject. And the excellent work that the officers have been doing is very much appreciated by everybody here today. Reached out to nearly 900 people, nearly 300 in jobs. That's good. That's absolutely brilliant. What we've got to make sure is what Councillor Nottage and other people have said earlier, is that we continue with bidding for further monies to continue with this work. So any lobbying that we can do to get that through would be absolutely needed, I think, moving forward. The other thing I'm really pleased about is, and thank you for taking on board what I suggested, is having actual case studies, because I think that really brings everything back to life again, and people understand how you're affecting them in the whole. So I think that's been very, very helpful indeed, as far as I'm concerned, and I think it's a good theme that we continue with. So moving on to the recommendation, I think members have all read the recommendation. Is everybody happy to approve that? Thank you, that's unanimous. Thank you very much for your time and effort. Moving on to the next item, which is the Sheffield Culture Strategy, Year 1 delivery update, which I personally am very excited about. And I'm sure Katie and Sarah will be too. So again, I think there's only one thing to mention here, which is that there is going to be a case study here as well. And when we do get to the case study, we have to stop the webcast because we've been asked not to disclose any private information there. Is that correct? In terms of the case study, we're going to stop the webcast because I think we've been asked not to share the individual's name.
No, I think we're okay for
Oh, we're
today.
okay.
Yes, it was the last meeting that we had to do that for. This one's okay, I think.
We're fine with this one then. I take it all back and I'll get excited again. And thank you for people coming as well that are going to be listening to this, Soraya and the team there as well. So over to you, Katie and Sarah.
Thank you, Chair. Just an introduction from me, really, to set the scene, and then Sarah's going to work you through the presentation, which complements the report you've got in your pack for committee. So, as many of you on the committee know, the Culture Strategy was approved by EDSC in October 2024 and actually launched on this date a year ago with the sector. So this day, a year ago, we were downstairs doing a celebration event and a launch with the whole sector in the kind of city, which is great. So today, there's no real decisions to make. It's a performance update. It's us celebrating and sharing with you everything that we've delivered in the first year of the Culture Strategy, talking through kind of all the things that have happened, which is, you know, a huge amount of work. I just want to say a personal thank you to Sarah, to Fraser and to Murray, who are sat over there as well, who are the Culture Sheffield team, who've the ones that have been developing and delivering this work with the sector. So it is a very collaborative and kind of convening role that we play. We work with a vast range of partners across the city in all sorts of different ways. And on that note, as the Chair's already referenced, we have some of our partners in the room, as we did last year. So we've got representatives of the Culture Strategy Action Group, Culture Collective, and that also includes both the University of Sheffield and Sheffield Hallam University. So really, really grateful that people have spared the time to come and listen and to come and be part of today's kind of presentation. So without any further kind of information from me, I think Sarah's going to talk through the presentation, share with you what we've been up to, and then we'll take any questions. Thank you.
I'll dive in. So, yeah, I just thought I'd start off by talking through some of the timeline of what we've been up to through the year, really, in the first year of delivering the Culture Strategy. You know, we launched the Culture Strategy on this day last year, as Katie said, and there was a brilliant response from that very first moment, which really was led by how many people engaged in the creation of the Culture Strategy. So one of the first things we did was set up the Culture Sheffield brand and kind of team. So yeah, before then we didn't have a kind of mechanism for helping to deliver the strategy from a council point of view. So that was kind of one of the first things that we did. Yeah, some of the successes I'll touch on as well, but really we kind of leapt into exactly what the strategy goals were. So we finished off in January to March the cultural pipeline funding, which was a kind of key fund through the project feasibility funding, which was aiming to help the culture sector become more resilient as well. So I'll talk about that a bit more later. And we also launched our first freelancer skills series as well. We saw 190 people participate in that, which was a brilliant uptake for that. And we sort of did quite a big range of cultural strategy activation events, looking at different themes coming from the strategy. So sort of creative health, sustainability and climate change, to young people's creative careers. There we go. So yeah, we also there's kind of so much to talk about. There's too many headlines to fit in, so I'm just going to do a bit of a snippet of the activity. So what we've done is range from continuing on practical sector support delivery events, relationship building with arm's length bodies such as Arts Council England. In fact, Sarota was back again yesterday in Sheffield meeting arts organisations, which was fantastic, and that followed on from a previous visit that he did earlier in the year, because he had a great time meeting those organisations and having some of those conversations. And then we've continued delivering our SBF-funded culture programmes. SBF has given us vital cultural funding to make a step change to support for arts organisations, such as launching the Bridging the Gap funding scheme and our Culture Club network support events as well. So I thought I'd just touch on the team as well. Katie and myself started kind of last summer at the council, and then we recruited Murray and Fraser around this time last year as well. So we're a fairly lean team in Culture Sheffield, but we are really hoping to expand that as well. And as been mentioned, we are recruiting currently for the development manager for Heritage. We hope to kind of have that out sooner, but we're really excited to be kind of we'll be interviewing for that role in January. And then we have a few more posts that we're hoping to kind of come online the beginning of next year, once we get them through the recruitment process. So we are really expanding and growing the team, because we've seen the impact that the Culture Sheffield team can have in terms of the direct support, the kind of one-on-one sessions that we can have with supporting arts organisations individually, to organising events, creating those and expanding those relationships with arm's length bodies as well. So I just thought I'd give some context of where all of this work, I'm not doing that, from where all this work came from, really, and the background to why it was so important for Sheffield to have a culture strategy, to have a culture team, and to be delivering this work. It's often talked about that Sheffield's Arts Council investment levels are a lot lower than other kind of northern cities. And as you can see from the first table, Sheffield is lowest out of those 5 cities for the amount of national portfolio organisation investment in the city. So national portfolio organisations are the organisations, they apply to the Arts Council England for regular 3-year funding in order to support their operations. So we currently have 13 of those in Sheffield, and actually that includes 2 newly relocated national MPO organisations, English Touring Opera and Orchestras for All. So the figures would be even lower without these. And in some ways that's a success that we've managed to attract 2 new national MPOs, but it's still quite a challenge that we have to face of trying to get some more regularly funded arts organisations in Sheffield. However, I also wanted to kind of look at the positive, which is the second table, which is about our capital funding success. So due to some kind of brilliant support from Sheffield City Council and the allocation of SBF capital funding supporting capital projects like Harmony Works, we have seen the investment from the Arts Council grow in recent years, and we're actually second out of those 5 cities, comparatively. So I think that's a real strength, and we're very much looking forward to that heritage role coming into post, as we know that a lot of the capital kind of pipeline for the culture and creative industries also intersects with the heritage pipeline in the city as well. So leading on from that, I suppose the challenges are that it is still a very difficult time to be working in the culture and creative industries, and that's for a myriad of reasons, all similar to other industries as well. But I think one of the largest things that is important to note, that local authority cultural spending has already fallen 2.3 billion in real terms over the past decade, and it's been a 50% cut from 2010. So this investment that we're making at Sheffield City Council is really important for continuing to grow and support the sector. We're still waiting to fully work out the impacts of the latest budget announcement and what the business rates impact will be for the phasing to new charges once the hospitality, retail and leisure discounts finish, but there seems to be some good news and some challenges within there as well. I also wanted to sort of touch on, I suppose, our relationship with the South Yorkshire Mayoral Combined Authority. Their culture and creative resourcing has been quite limited, but we have some good news in that they are just in the process of recruiting for a secondment from the Arts Council, and Katie's in fact interviewing the interviewing some of those candidates for that next week. So that's a really positive development, because a huge amount of how we work is obviously across the region and in relationship with Simca. So where we've been coming up with resource challenges, we hope that there'll be a really positive shift next year. And they are also developing a culture and creative industries investment framework as well, which will sort of lay out how they plan to invest more in culture. But to focus on some successes as well, because we've achieved a huge amount in this first year, I think I'll just rattle through some of these really. So despite tough conditions for the culture sector, our work to support at Culture Sheffield and to deliver the culture strategy aims are more important than ever. So these successes are pulled together by myself, Fraser and Murray, of all the highlights we wanted to share. So we launched the Culture Bulletin at the start of this year, coming from a need from the culture sector for a better kind of joined up about the culture strategy showed that the sector needed to be better connected and communicated in order to coordinate around funding opportunities, job training, and just kind of not duplicating the same things as well. So we set up the Culture Bulletin, and we have got to over 1,200 subscribers in less than a year. We had a 90% engagement rate in the summer of 2025, which is kind of blown out of the water for kind of usual gov.delivery benchmarks, which is fantastic, and it's all down to the brilliant work of Murray to build that newsletter as well. We also have a huge amount of submissions to that bulletin every time it's put out, and we also launched the Culture Sheffield LinkedIn page. Please follow us if you don't already, and please share it with people. So we've got more than 1,600 followers in less than a year, and we continually get very high post impressions and engagement with that as well. So really these kind of communication methods were quite important to also showcase what we were doing as we started to put on events and bring the sector together around what they're doing to deliver the culture strategy as well. And one of the successes from that, and something that has had a real positive kind of reaction recently, is as part of the activation events, one of the events that we did helped to launch the Sheffield Independent Venues Alliance formation. And from that as well, we are continually changing and responding our programmes to look at, okay, what are the challenges these sector support networks are facing, and we go to a lot of them, we hear feedback from a lot of them, and they're really important conduits for delivering the strategy. So just now we have also released the Culture Networks Fund, which is closing in January, and again that's about how can we help mobilise and support the people that are convening around delivering the culture strategy as well. And pause. Stay on that slide for one more second, because we've got so many successes to talk about, but also a large part of the culture strategy was about the governance of how we're going to deliver this culture strategy, or how are the groups, how is the culture sector communicating as well. And so we launched the Culture Strategy Action Group in the summer, and we had over 70 applications for that, and we now have a brilliant cross-sector group that is established, helping to work together on what they want to see as a result of having a culture strategy. And as we said before, we've got some members in the room today, and we're having our third culture club this evening as well, which is a brilliant kind of cross-sector opportunity for people in the arts and creative industries to come together, network, meet each other and find new opportunities as well. And we've actually delivered most of the first area of the culture strategy, Ignite, invest in the foundations for culture to thrive. And within the next couple of weeks, or maybe in January when people are more interested in reading blog posts, we'll be releasing a post that kind of details all of the actions and then how we've achieved them, and then our plans for next year as well. We've also engaged more than 1,000 participants through our events this year, spanning networking, leadership, strategy and fundraising. And for the Cultural Pipeline Fund, we've been doing quite a lot of evaluation of the impact of that fund as well, and grantees have raised just over £500,000 in fundraising work as of September when we surveyed them, which has doubled the initial investment of the £250,000 pot that was put out. So it just kind of shows that if we can invest and use these schemes to invest in the culture sector, it will bring back dividends for that support as well. So our next steps, so we're going into culture strategy delivery for year 2. So this moves us on to the Accelerate and Elevate aims. They are a focus on young people, health and well-being, climate and sustainability. And we always have in mind, and since we started delivering, people have been very keen to see Elevate as well, which is about bringing the world to Sheffield and Sheffield to the world. So that also touches on participation in communities, tourism and visitor economy, and Sheffield's international profile for culture and creativity as well. So we'll be working to ensure that the SBF programmes will continue for next year, looking at the local growth fund and how we can ensure that lots of the work we're doing can continue, as well as building in new schemes for supporting the work of the culture sector. Yes, we're kind of 2026 is a brilliant preparatory year, because 2027 already feels like it's going to be quite a huge year for events in Sheffield. So we already have the British Art Show. There's conversations around Sanctuary 27, celebrating 20 years of Sheffield being a city of sanctuary. And we know that there's kind of so much bubbling around music in the city that we think some sort of large-scale music event or programme will very much likely be formed for 2027 as well. And I was even on a call yesterday with someone who was putting in a large funding bid for another big project that would span from 2027 to 2028 as well. So it really feels like that will be a big catalysing year for culture in the city, and 2026 will really make sure that we can deliver that. And we also are we will be working on a place partnership bid from Arts Council England to help solidify and bring in more funding from the Arts Council, matching in with local government funding from the local growth fund to show that we are really investing in the foundations for culture to thrive. But I just wanted to finish the presentation by looking at some exciting next steps for Culture Sheffield. So we've got a sneak peek at our new Culture Sheffield microsite and our culture showreel video, which highlights the fantastic creative events and work happening in the city. So this is our new culture hub, which Murray has been working hard with the digital services team to create. So really what we've seen is that we spend a lot of time kind of repeating information with the sector or resources. It's quite hard to find ways into the culture sector, and that's, it's not easy to navigate how to get funding or how to build a freelance career and all of these kind of different things, and also often how to find which events and networking opportunities are relevant. So this page will really help us to kind of have a central hub for people to go to, and this was also kind of one of the main things that was kind of identified in the culture strategy as needed to support the development of the sector as well. So these are just a few pages. So an example is, there's lots of different areas for culture and creativity that have a huge amount of information in them. So we're going to have a kind of creative health page. Creative health has become quite a buzzword in culture and creative industries over the last year or so, which is basically, culture and well-being is good for you and we should do more of it, but also kind of then looking at kind of exactly what's the data and monitoring that we can do to kind of prove the kind of well-being that is kind of taken from participating in an arts activity. So we'll have a page on that, as well as pages on different thematic areas as well. funding directories as well. A lot of our time is spent people meeting, asking us, how do we get funding? Who are the funders? Can we have funding from Sheffield City Council? You know, those sorts of things. So setting up a funding directory will really help people kind of get the information they need when they need it. And I just thought I'd finish then showing this video, if that's okay. This is a kind of a highlights reel of what's been happening in the city over the last year. So I'll just talk as it's getting set up, if that's all right, or do I just click? Yes. Oh, brilliant. I'll show the film, then I'll talk. Brilliant. So that video, I think, just really shows how important culture and creativity is to all of our lives, you know, and how thriving it is in Sheffield as well. The film was filmed and edited by Ari Narapol and produced by Murray Wood, but it also had a great amount of sector involvement in. We did a call out for footage, and as you can see, we've got such a huge range of events featured there. It was brilliant. There was 20 events attended, but also the footage was gathered from 55 different organisations as well. And we're really going to, when we release that, we're really hoping to see that it will help galvanise the sector around kind of make it tangible what we're trying to achieve with culture in Sheffield, and help kind of increase momentum for engaging with the delivery of the culture strategy in the second year as well. And it also links into the city brand as the world's #1 place brand as well. So that's the end of the presentation from me, but really happy to answer any questions that you have now as well.
Right. Okay, thanks. Councillor Bragg. Councillor Rees, and then Masters, Nottage, Fox. Councillor Rees, please.
Thank you for the presentation, and good to see the progress that's being made. I'm sure you're aware of my love of nighttime economy, but also culture more generally. I think it helps inform who we are as a city and gives us an identity that feels makes us collectively proud of where we live. I'm going to start with not a question, but rather a thanks of thinking about heritage in that, because we're a city, we are unique in how we're laid out. I'm going off this evening to a pub carolling session up in Ecclesfield, famous local carols that are only sung in Ecclesfield. Brilliant Radio 4 programme about it if you'd like to listen to it. Thankfully, my singing isn't featured. I think there's a slide on the presentation. My question relates to our relationship in terms of funding and the number of organisations that receive National Arts Council funding. My worry is that success breeds success, and that compared to places like Leeds and Manchester that have got that kind of critical mass, that greater gravity, that they will increasingly be the places where new organisations set up, or those moving outside of London, as we saw with the English National Opera. They moved to Manchester, and I doubt that they will have even thought of Sheffield as a place to relocate. How do we prevent, or how do we catch back up and prevent that bit of doom spiral in terms of, well, we don't have organisations here, so organisations don't want to come here? Have you got a strategy regarding that in the works?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of why Culture Sheffield is here, and that's kind of partly what we're doing. If we can support different parts of the sector to thrive, that will attract more organisations to relocate here or to set up here. There's always a lot of grassroots cultural organisations setting up. The problem is that they burn out, or they close down, or they move cities, or something like that. So really, with us supporting the sector to thrive, that will hopefully help to counter that, and also make a noise to say we are here and we are doing great work. It's one of the reasons we wanted that video to be created as well, to kind of help also kind of, shout loudly about how good it is to, how good Sheffield is for culture and creative activities. I think that's a real success seen from the kind of music kind of sector of Sheffield, especially around kind of the harmony works and the kind of music education sector that is in Sheffield, that has kind of been so, leading in their successes and the work that they do, that has attracted Orchestras for All and English Touring Opera to kind of base themselves in Sheffield, and they chose that because there was such a brilliant scene and momentum gathering around that work. So we can kind of see what's happening there and go, okay, how can we apply that to different areas of the sector as well? But I didn't know if you wanted to come in on that, Katie.
Yeah, if I just add to that, I suppose, I think the MPO measure is a really important indicator, and it is the thing nationally that kind of you benchmark your cities against, but it's not the only game in town, I suppose, and what we just need to be mindful of is that we're talking about a wider range of funders and conversations about where the investment comes into our creative and cultural sectors. So yesterday we very specifically were talking to Nick Sirota and the Arts Council about how do we grow the number of MPOs in Sheffield and South Yorkshire, and we will be having a workshop with the Arts Council in the new year on that front, so I think we are tackling that. We spend a lot of time talking with the Arts Council, the Heritage Fund, DCMS directly. We are lobbying at all levels for investment, and that's in different ways and different mechanisms. So the Heritage Fund will bring money into our capital heritage assets. We're talking to both universities about creative industries cluster funding, which comes from research funding. We're talking to SIMCA about all of their single integrated settlement work and how culture and creativity is featured in that and how we can help deliver the growth fund. So I think there's loads and loads of work that we've kind of touched on in the presentation that's going on behind the scenes to try and make that happen, and to really think strategically about where we can make the case for investment. So all I can kind of reassure is that we are doing that work and we're having those conversations. Place partnership bid is another example of us getting Arts Council money for Culture Sheffield to then deliver more. So again, we invest in the sector through that funding as well.
Thank you for that. Councillor Masters.
Thank you for that. It is exciting times, I know. A plea, though. Now, sort of, you've mentioned things like cultural bulletin, information about the Cultural Network Fund. I can't find any link in the report. So could it be automatic, and this isn't just for your particular field, but for reports from any organisation that come to the committee, to put in links so we can actually have a look at what's going on? And I'm assuming that sort of Murray would have sort of ideas on that, but just a link.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all.
Yeah. The website has literally launched, or is launching today, so we didn't put a link to that in the presentation, but yeah, we absolutely can do that, and we are looking at ways to kind of further, for people to find more about the Culture Sheffield links as well.
It wasn't just that, it's the separate links as well, because we do have lots of conversations with people from all walks of life and in the industry, and just to refer to something in the minutes, like, oh look, I can find it then at least, because I know it's come up. Thank you.
Brilliant.
Thank you for that, Councillor Nottage, please.
Well, thanks a lot for the report. I'm really excited to see what stuff the Cultural Pipeline Fund enables, because there's a lot of preparatory work that fund sort of paid for. And really pleased to see about the Sheffield independent venues. We lost some really cherished places in Sheffield recently. It's great to see that sector getting some support. And there's a a lot of overlap with a report that the Arts and Humanities Research Council funded that was officially launched at Portland Works just over a month ago, looking at independent breweries, independent retailers and basically drinking venues. And it's a sector that when I moved to Sheffield as a student, I worked tirelessly to support, that is facing a lot of challenges these days. One key sort of sentence from it was that they found that 42% of the venues and breweries in Sheffield were independents, and that percentage directly reflects the city's unique history of distinct interconnected neighbourhoods. And there were some really good recommendations from the report, including promoting Sheffield's unique local heritage and strengthening partnerships with local authorities. I was wondering if your team would be able to review that report, see where there's some synergy going on with the great stuff you're already doing, and see where that partnership with the local authority could be strengthened.
Definitely, yeah. We'll do that.
Great
Yeah,
stuff,
sounds
thanks.
good. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Fox, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just wondering that we haven't mentioned football, and football culture in Sheffield is huge, and just is there any scope for that? Are we going to include it? We attract thousands and thousands of visitors every week through our football teams, and that of course has an effect on our economy. So I ought to declare that I am the chair of Sheffield Ullah Football Charity, so I do have some interest in this, but also that would attract funding, I'm sure, if we were to promote our city as we all know, it invented football. Thank you.
Yeah, just to come back on that, I think it's maybe not featured explicitly in the presentation, but there are obviously ongoing conversations. I think, excuse me, that intersection between culture, sport and heritage is a really interesting triangle for us. And the point earlier from Councillor Rice as well about heritage is like we see them interconnected and the same thing. So we're definitely investing in that. So all of those ongoing meetings we're having with Sheffield Home of Football, yeah, absolutely, we see that opportunity.
Is it going to be mentioned in the further reports or anything? I do think.
Yeah, I mean, as the work grows, yeah, we definitely can do. I mean, we work with Lever Ashton, who's the service manager for culture for sport, a lot as well, with kind of their plans and their developments as well. So we could, reference kind of physical activity in general, also more in what we're doing as well, and link up to kind of the reports of what they're doing, what we're doing, and how that all relates.
I just think it speaks volumes, doesn't it, to people that are reading it, that we are linking in with our football heritage as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ullah.
Thank you. Chair, I also want to join colleagues to recognise the great progress made in the first year of delivery of the culture strategy. Well done to the team. I also agree with Councillor Fox. I think we could do more to capitalise on our rich heritage of being the home of football. So I really support that idea as well. In terms of the next step, I welcome the website. We've got a lot of people saying, what are the different events? I don't know where to go to. I think that would be really helpful. I think we could do publicising that in every single platform we have access to. If you don't mind, if you can highlight some of the key events in the next couple of months that residents of Sheffield maybe they should be aware of, and that'd be really welcome. Thank you.
So there is actually, there's two quite great listing sites that already exist. So our Culture Sheffield site is a little bit about events, but that's kind of a little bit more focused on sector development events and opportunities, whereas the Welcome to Sheffield site that exists, that maybe Katie can talk more on, is that kind of home for all of the events that are happening in Sheffield. But I suppose to name a few, there'll be Chinese Lunar New Year celebrations in February. We've currently got Light Up Sheffield happening, we're kind of looking at kind of different cultural calendars and how we can share those as well, because that was flagged in the culture strategy. There's also a brilliant independent organisation called Our Favourite Places that do lots of roundups of events that are happening now or in future, and they've just released their festivals guide for the year as well. So we probably will link to things like that also on our Culture Sheffield pages as well.
Thank you. Councillor Whittaker, please.
Yes, your video is very good and it showed all level of cultural activity. I'm particularly interested in small-scale levels of cultural activity, because the bigger scale ones have been talked about. But I mean, this is economic development. There can be cross-fertilisation with economic development and culture on the small scale. For instance, small-scale cultural activity could help to revive markets, which I have an interest in. Spaces in markets, they're not as crowded as they used to be. So there is room for things like children's activities, amateur art and craft, dance, you know, all sorts of things like that in retail areas, small scale, which can help the footfall in these areas and really do a valuable cross-fertilisation with the economy of the city. So I just ask if you can just keep in mind not just the big things, but the small-scale cultural activity.
Yes, we do have a report actually on the creative communities funding that came through Shared Prosperity Funding as well, and the impact that had on local communities as well. So I can put that as an action to share. But yes, we do see there's sometimes a focus on kind of major or city centre events, but the kind of smaller grassroots activity happening in kind of all parts of Sheffield and local high streets are very important as well. And we've supported, you know, many organisations doing that kind of great work to revitalise those high streets or those places as well with cultural interventions. One example of that, I suppose, is Rivelin Co, who are currently on our Bridging the Gap scheme, and they're doing brilliant work in North Sheffield, and they've got a local neighbourhood artist scheme that kind of does very micro community interventions as well. And there's quite a few different organisations that we work with who are doing a lot of that work as well. So hopefully when we have the site, that will help to also publicise some of that work that happens, because I think sometimes, although it is happening, because it is quite small scale or local, it's not kind of being talked about in as much of a kind of, yeah, big way. Thank you.
Sorry, Councillor.
It's right, because Mark triggered a memory. Now, culture, graffiti. Have you any way of sort of getting telecoms box suppliers to engage with the local communities to paint murals on the telecoms boxes? Because they've got such a tight schedule, it's impossible, and we know that they're a target for graffiti, so it's a plea. Can we get murals on them? How can you help?
Yeah, I mean, we it's not something specifically we've looked into yet, but we are supporting organisations.
We'll take that away.
Like Lick of Paint, who are doing great work in kind of with street art and with looking at kind of commissions like that. Also know that that's also lots of kind of funding has come through potentially Shared Prosperity Funding as well. I know that in the area that I live in near Zest, there was a commission through Zest Centre for all of those I don't know what you call them, telecommunications supposed to be painted, and now they're all covered, which is great. So I suppose it's also how can other areas learn from the best practice of what they did. But yeah, we can take that away. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that. Absolutely the final question now from Councillor.
More comment about the telephone boxes. It's a great news story out of Sheffield. It was really, really hard to get permission from Openreach, but because of the work we did with the ERF fund, they've now got a really streamlined process and they're really on board with it.
Oh, great.
But they won't share that with us in my ward. That's the trouble.
Okay.
And I can't get the officers to get the details from the other places in the different black areas to get the links, because we've been trying for 2 years now. And it's not just O2, it's Virgin as well, you know, and it's different. Look, you can sense the frustration coming through when we commission sort of murals on our council buildings in my ward, but we can't get it on the telecoms boxes. Thank you.
Thank you for that, and I think I'm going to conclude that in terms of any more questions from everybody. Again, we've had a full set of questions from everybody as well. It only remains for me to move towards the recommendation, but before I do, I'd like to thank you for the report that you've presented. I've spent a great deal of time around arts and culture and and the galleries in the last few months, and I've certainly learnt a huge amount. And picking up on what Councillor Whittaker said earlier, it does have a significant impact on business as well, and the connection between business and culture is absolutely there, and the two drive each other, and that's what I've come across. And we've also had some events with people as well that are interested in this area around business, but they want culture to develop as well. In terms of what Councillor Fox said, and then followed up by Councillor Ullah, we are looking at the sports side of things as well. Katie and I think, was it Katie yourself, we met the boxing people because Sheffield is second only to Liverpool in terms of the home of boxing. And there are other areas as well that we need to look at and explore and celebrate as well. But like the officers have actually said, they're a very lean team. And what I would like to do at this stage is thank Saraya Faulkner from the collective Sheffield, isn't it? Yeah, sorry, Culture Collective. I've spent some time with Saraya and the team there, and the amount of work that they're doing to support is absolutely excellent. And also to Kirsty Hamilton, who's the chair of the Sheffield Museums. I've been around most of the museums now and the art galleries, and the Sheffield scene is actually quite strong, very, very strong. And everybody is actually working together. So all I can say from the perspective of this committee, if I may be bold enough to do so, is the fact that we really do support and value the contributions that you guys make, because officers alone will not be able to achieve what we're achieving. So thank you very much for that. And we will move towards the recommendation. Members have read it. Any dissent on that? No? Fine. Thank you. We'll move on to and thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you,
it was absolutely excellent, and I think we've made significant progress, and let's hope we can continue to make progress in the years to come as well. So thank you. Moving on to item 10, which is business support overview, and Yvonne and Rob.
Thank you, Chair. Would you like me to begin? Would you like me to begin? Yes. Okay, thank you. Rob Lawley and myself are here to present on the Business Sheffield Business Support report. And we're just going to run through a presentation. So the report in the pack provides committee members with a comprehensive update on the business support delivered by Business Sheffield during 23 to 25 and our current delivery in this financial year. That is through a range of targeted programmes. Business Sheffield has supported thousands of local businesses, facilitated the creation and safeguarding of jobs and leveraged significant private sector investment. The appendices in the report provide detailed performance data, case studies illustrating the positive impact of the business support on Sheffield's economic development. Committee members have in the past asked for case studies, so Rob will concentrate on the case studies that kind of support the delivery of Business Sheffield, and also a few videos as well. So I'll just provide a little bit of background. Most committee members are aware of Business Sheffield, so I won't labour on that background to get to those case studies. So just about us. Sorry, I'm not very good at this, could you? Sorry. Technically incapable. There we go. Okay, thank you. So the Business Sheffield service encompasses both the business support that we deliver and our inward investment team. This committee report very much focuses on the business support delivery side. So we offer comprehensive free support to local businesses, and we do that through one-to-one guidance from experienced business advisors. We offer a number of grants to businesses as well, workshops and regular networking events. The service is very much designed to support businesses to start, grow and to thrive. And most of that service over the last 3 years has been funded through shared prosperity funding,
alongside a small core council budget. We also, in addition to providing support to businesses directly, we coordinate and run the Diverse Business Board, which has prioritised procurement with local and diverse businesses and influence policy, including the Council Growth Plan and the Simca Growth Plan. And we do that in collaboration with the Chamber of Commerce in Sheffield as well. Thanks, Rob. So just to talk through our advisor team, so we can't deliver business support without really specialised team of individuals. So we have 4 growth advisors who support larger and scaling businesses with access to finance, strategy, productivity, marketing and innovations. They also make referrals through to, for example, Innovate UK funding, Skills Bank and recruitment support. And we work really closely with the Opportunity Sheffield team as well. We have 6 high street officers, so they provide bespoke advice for high street business owners. So they're essentially working with independents across all our high streets in hospitality and retail in the main. And they also act as a bridge to council services as well. So they advocate on behalf of businesses with licensing, planning, business rates and environmental health, for example. Our tech team, so we have 3 tech scale-up advisors. They work with tech businesses on their growth journey. So they work with tech founders, but also established tech businesses in the city. And they deliver a pre-accelerator programme called Tech Forge, which runs a few times a year. Very much part of the tech ecosystem, and we are now piloting the approach of the tech scale-up advisor with the rest of the region on behalf of Tech SY. The Launchpad team, so we have 4 Launchpad general business advisors and a sales and marketing expert. They support startup and aspiring entrepreneurs across all sectors. And importantly, we deliver that both in electric works, where we are based in the city centre, but out in communities as well. So we work with established business networks in the community to offer support and to get out to diverse businesses as much as we can. And that has been a real change in our delivery model over the last few years. Just to say as well, we don't work in isolation, but deliver alongside other stakeholders in the city, ensuring businesses are actively engaged in the right support at the right time. Our grant programmes, so we have productivity and digitisation grants. They support SMEs to boost productivity and digital innovation with match funding required from the business. This grant programme very much aligns with the Growth Plan's objective for a more productive business base, and the programme works across all different sectors of businesses. It's a product that we're incredibly proud of. We've seen huge productivity improvements across different size businesses and sectors with job creation as well. The Low Carbon Grant Project provides free energy, audits, expert advice and grants to help SMEs cut energy use and carbon emissions. I know we've covered this before in committee meetings, and we very much support businesses who are on their decarbonisation journey. Businesses who've been supported by that grant product have also been heavily engaged in the decarbonisation route map consultation work, which we covered at the last committee meeting. Workshops and events, this is a big part of what we deliver in Business Sheffield with other stakeholders in the city as well and in the region. So we deliver regular workshops covering business planning, finance, accounting, social media, AI, HR and marketing, for example. Our events are designed to be accessible and provide practical information in a friendly and easy to understand manner. Regular workshops see sort of people attending with a small group of people, like 10 people in a workshop setting. But we also run really large-scale events as well. So we had a procurement event that was delivered on behalf of the Diverse Board a few months ago, and with the Chamber and commercial services in the Council. We saw 210 businesses at that event. That was at Hallam Hall in the city centre. An access to finance event earlier in the year on behalf of British Business Bank, which saw approximately 100 businesses, and we often deliver joint networking events with FSB and other organisations like that, so just to give you a flavour. I'm going to hand over to Rob Lawley, the Service Manager for Business Sheffield, who'll talk through some of those specific impacts and case studies. And just to say that Rob has been with us only since April as Service Manager and has really focused on really trying to improve our outward message really to really kind of focus on what we deliver in Business Sheffield and to get that message out as much as possible. Thanks, Rob.
Good morning, everyone. I just, first of all, just need to apologise if I've stopped to cough. I've had COVID last week and I'm still recovering, so I apologise if I need to...
Just press the button. Sorry, press the button.
Press you off.
There we go. That one. Yeah. So, thanks, Yvonne. So, yeah, as Yvonne mentioned, we are funded predominantly by Shared Prosperity Fund. We're in a transitional year, so this year we have around the funding that covers 25-26. These stats on the screen here cover our previous round of Shared Prosperity funding, which was from July 2023 to March 2025. During that period, we supported more than 3,200 businesses across our business advice teams. That means advisors going in, speaking to those businesses one-to-one, or those businesses attending our workshops. We support 432 individuals who are looking to start businesses, so pre-starts, we refer to them as pre-starts, those individuals in the city of Sheffield who want to start businesses. We paid out over £3 million in grant funding, 541 grants paid to businesses, and alongside that, private sector investment to match those grants was over 3.3 million as well. Through the support for the pre-starts I mentioned there, 432, there were at least 74 businesses created. We believe that figure and the figures for jobs will be higher. Those are just the numbers that we have paperwork for, where someone will sign to say, yes, I have created a business, or yes, I have created a job. So we created 287 jobs and more than 122 jobs safeguarded. I think especially that job safeguarded figure would definitely be a lot higher. Our high street advisors in particular have been going out to around 2,000 businesses throughout this period, and the number of businesses they support on the high street who are potentially at risk of closure, and the difference they make to those businesses probably means that safeguarded figure should be a lot higher than it is on that page there. So just to move on to a few specific, well, it comes to case studies in a second, but first of all, I just wanted to focus on insights from a survey of some of the businesses supported by our growth advisors. So as Yvonne mentioned, our growth advisors support SMEs in Sheffield, typically 1 million plus turnover. We did a recent survey of the businesses that were supported last year, so just in the financial year 24-25, nearly 91% of them reported an increase in business performance as a result of the support they'd received. Nearly 91% reported increased productivity, and you can see the other figures there that just show the impact that our growth advisors have on the businesses that they work with. The couple of figures that aren't actually in this slide, over 90% of those businesses also said that they'd received or been supported to receive grant funding. So one of the really important jobs of our advisors is to know not just what we within Sheffield City Council offer in terms of grants, but also what's available nationally, what's available regionally. And our advisors do a fantastic job of linking the businesses they work with in Sheffield into a lot of those national, regional grant programmes. So things like Made Smarter, Innovate UK that Yvonne mentioned, but then also much smaller grant programmes. One of our growth advisors in particular is a specialist in grant funding, and she sends out a weekly grant bulletin that goes to the whole team. So everyone in the team is aware of everything that's coming up on a regular basis in terms of the national, local and regional landscape for grants, and then can pick out what's appropriate for the businesses they're working with at any one time. Of the businesses who responded to the survey as well, which was over 60 businesses who worked with growth advisors last year, 59% of them also said that the growth advisors had supported them to increase the number of jobs within their business. So again, just another sort of sign of the job creation that comes about as a result of the support we offer through Business Sheffield. So just to move on to some case studies. So it's just wanted to pick out a few specific businesses that we've supported. Peak Pickleball is a recently opened pickleball centre. I don't know how many people know much about pickleball, but it's one of the fastest growing racket sports. We're now with the opening of Peak Pickleball, 3 dedicated pickleball centres in the UK. Peak Pickleball has opened, sorry, it's a bit of a tongue twister, isn't it? Has opened recently on Newham Road in Attercliffe. They came, so Gina, who is the owner of that business, came to us at a really early stage. So about a year ago, she came to us. She had just left her employment and she said, I want to open a business. I have never done this before and I have no idea how to do it. And so she sat down with our Launchpad advisors who helped her put together a business plan, put together financial forecasts so that she could access startup loans and build that investment and build that funding she needed to get this centre open. Our Invest team, who Yvonne mentioned, were then able to support with finding a location for the business. Gina and her business partner also attended lots of our workshops around marketing, around starting a business. And one thing led to another, and we've had the success of them opening very recently on Newham Road in Atcliffe. Industry-specific support, so Yvonne mentioned that I'd only recently been in this role for a short period before. I was also a business advisor, but prior to that I also set up and run my own business, a leisure business. So whilst I was business advisor, I was actually able to give them industry-specific support. And I think one of the strengths of our operating model is that we've got pretty much all our advisors have experience either running, owning, or in business over a long period of time. So the people that are going out to actually meet with these businesses and speaking with them have been through the journey that these businesses are going through, and we have a real range of industry-specific experience within the team as well. We've got people who've owned nightclubs, retail, warehousing, security businesses, tech businesses. There's a huge amount of experience within the team. People were also able to access a productivity grant to support some camera analysis so they could build out their offering within the centre. And then one of our high street advisors will also now be offering regular ongoing support to that business. So the Launchpad advisor can hand over to the high street advisor now this business is set up, and this peak people will be receiving regular visits, usually about every 6 weeks or so, from their high street advisor, but obviously know that if they need us, they know exactly where we are. So that's an early stage business. I also wanted to focus on, sorry, clicker's a bit quick there for me, a more established business. So Buffalo Systems have been a fairly well publicised takeover recently. So they were established in 1979, a Sheffield-based company offering mountain outdoor wear. During the takeover, one of our growth advisors, Andy Sorsby, has been supporting throughout. So one of the real strengths of the advisors we have within the team is just the access to local networks and local businesses. So Andy was able to support them in modernising the business, but also linking them with businesses and individuals within the city to actually bring some more of their supply chain within Sheffield. So connected Buffalo with local partners for recyclable packaging and design support. So that was something they brought into the city. We were able to help them with, again, a productivity grant towards some cutting technology and new sewing machines. Colleagues in Anne Brennan in Invest has also been supporting them with employment and linking them in to find the staff they need to rapidly increase the number of people they have making the garments they sell. And Andy's experience in warehousing actually meant they were able to save a lot of money through space optimization. They were planning on moving into a larger premises, a larger warehouse to store their items, but Andy was able to take a look at the business, have a look at the space they were in, and optimize it for them so they didn't actually have to do that, and instead have managed to have used some of that money to open up a brand new sort of head office type area on Chapel Walk. And they're also now in discussions around apprenticeships, which is helping to build a local skills pipeline. Oh, there we go. Got there eventually. So, as well as the support for individual businesses, we also run a number of initiatives to support businesses as a group. So one of those that we're running at the moment is the Launchpad's pop-up store. So in collaboration with Clean Steam and Regeneration, we were able to take an empty Sheffield City Council owned unit in the heart of the city. It was formerly the Sheffield Monkey site. It's opposite Debenhams at the end of Pinstone Street, and turn that into a pop-up store in the run-up to Christmas. Within that pop-up store, we've got 27 early-stage businesses, so people who have never had retail premises before and are Sheffield-based, makers and creatives, so they're all people who make and create stuff within the city, and offer them space to trade in the run-up to Christmas. Alongside that opportunity to trade from that space, what we also offer is wraparound support. So our advisors are on-site at all times, helping them with some of the challenges they're facing as they're sort of operating within in the site. So things like if we notice someone hasn't got their pricing out, they haven't got correct branding, if they're maybe training them a little bit on how they interact with the customers as they come in. It's been a massive success so far. The first weekend alone, we saw over 2,000 people visit the site on the Saturday. We've had at least 5,000 people through in the first 6 days it's been open, and we've got had fantastic feedback from the businesses on site there. One of the other great things we were able to do through this scheme was also bring in diverse business owners who may not typically have premises in the city centre, or might struggle to have premises in the city centre. And over 50% of the traders and the business owners within the site are from ethnic minorities. We'll also then offer ongoing support. So all these businesses that will be going through the pop-up store will be supported on an ongoing basis to build on the success and build on what they've managed to achieve through the store, with the hope that some of them may eventually move into their own retail premises. Right, so we've got sorry. Just got a few videos there. Do you want to click on the first one for me? Is that all right? Thank you.
My name is Deborah Moira Nelson, and my business is Minco. My business is all about dried flowers, music, prints, and just lovely, beautiful, handmade, bespoke products that I make with other amazing artists that I work with. In the 12-13 years I've been here as a shop, there's been a lot of quite big fundamental things that have happened. It's meant that it's been quite challenging having a shop on the high street. Being a shop owner or an artist, even though I have lots of wonderful friends around me, can be extremely lonely. It felt quite isolating at times. Business Sheffield were wonderful because it gave me the opportunity to talk through the ideas, look at strategy, planning, and also just to help confidence, self-worth, and just be a real support and mentorship within what I was doing. So it felt a little bit less isolating. I am somebody with lots and lots of ideas, and sometimes I just need a little bit of focus. Business Sheffield were able to just help me focus on certain ideas that may be more profitable, maybe would work better than others. They also helped me in terms of just looking at my actual shop environment. And it was really lovely for them to come in and to look at product placement, think about my pricing strategy, think about wholesaling. I have a high street advisor, and they're often up and down the street, and sometimes they'll just pop in and say hi. They just keep an eye on everybody, and that's really special. They'll just pop in and see how you're doing, and that shows that they're just going beyond their actual jobs because they care about Sheffield, they care about the high street, and they care about the community, and they care about the people they work with.
Brilliant. So yeah, I think that video really reflects nicely how the support, in particular our high street advisors, offer. Rather than waiting for people to come to us, they literally go door to door on the high streets, and we try to cover every high street and every precinct within the city across our 6 high street advisors. And we also can react to specific needs as well. So we've seen recently there's been a real demand for support with social media. Social media is a massive thing, and a lot of people on the high street, maybe with some of the older businesses, weren't quite sure where to go with it or how to use it effectively. So we've brought in someone in the past 3 months to support specifically with social media for those high street businesses, and that individual's been going out again to those businesses individually and just sort of sitting down with them, helping them with their social media marketing strategy, helping them with content, helping them with planning out how they can get more people through the door to build on their businesses. So I think that brings us to an end. We've got time for the videos, yeah. So we've got
Do we have time, Chair, for the other 2 videos?
Cool.
Yeah.
My name is Tom Bird. I'm Chief Executive at Sheffield Theatres, and Sheffield Theatres is the UK's largest producing theatre complex out of London, comprised of 4 theatres in Sheffield city centre. All theatres are thinking a lot about their carbon footprint. In a theatre, you're using loads and loads of light all the time. It's like the tool we use to tell stories. So our energy consumption of all theatres can be quite high. In addition to all that theatre lighting that we're turning on every night, there's obviously a load of lighting in public spaces to make sure that they're nice environments to be in, but also safe environments to be in. We're on a very long-term journey to change our lighting from lighting that in some cases was put in the 70s or in the early 90s. We work very closely with the City Council and therefore with the various bits of the City Council, like Business Sheffield. For the Lyceum Theatre, we received £23,000, which was half the cost of transforming some of the lighting in here. It got us about 300 new light fittings in the Lyceum Theatre. The carbon savings that we've got in here, probably saving us £10,000 a year. The Lyceum is our busiest theatre, so it's very important that we get this work done in this theatre, and this grant allowed us to do that. It also helps our business model in a broader sense because our core energy costs are coming down, so we can invest that money that we would have been spending on our energy bills in plays or musicals that we do on stage.
So that's a good example of how the low carbon grant doesn't just reduce sort of carbon emissions from businesses, but actually helps them to sustain the business, helps them to focus on bring their costs down, operating costs down, so they can focus that spend somewhere else. And then we've got one final video, which is focusing on some of our tech support.
My name's James, and I'm the founder of Homey Student. So Homey is a software development company. We build tailored software that improves the lives of students across the UK and beyond. Our first app, Homey Student, will help improve the communal living experience of students at university. You can manage your calendars, your chores, your bills, and really optimise your living experience with your housemates and yourself. I think the main challenge for me was I was a sole founder. For any sole founder out there, it's very difficult. It's a lonely journey at some points because when it gets tough, you haven't really got anyone to fall back on to do it with you. When joining Business Sheffield, I firstly got to meet a massive network within Sheffield of like-minded people from different industries. And it was just fantastic to get people who knew what I was going through. I was to chat through my problems with them and really just feel in a community. I've had absolutely loads of support from Business Sheffield, starting from my fantastic mentors, Chris and Robin, who have been amazing, helping me bounce ideas, think through problems, work out who I need to talk to, if I've got an issue, that sort of thing. And they've been absolutely amazing. I've also been to workshops on top of that, which helped me build and improve my skills, such as getting funding, working out how to build a proper MVP, working out how to improve my ideas, how to market, which marketing's not my thing. I've always been terrible at it, but they really helped me get to that next stage of marketing from a person who's not come from a marketing background. I definitely say they've really helped our business. Without them, we'd got stuck at the first hurdle. We wouldn't be able to get initial funding. But then we've also had new things about my skills personally as a founder. I wouldn't have known where to go for marketing skills. I wouldn't have known what to do. I would have barely known how to run a social media account. And going to their workshops has really helped improve that.
So that video really summarises the journey of quite a few of the businesses that we work with in the tech sector. So we'll have people and individuals come to us and say they're really not sure about where to go with the sort of tech idea they had. So that business went through our Tech Forge program, which is a series of 5 workshops targeting taking an idea and creating something that's ready to take to market. He mentioned the advisors Chris and Robin there who supported with getting them ready for investment, with pitch decks, with building an MVP, so minimum viable product, and eventually they were able to take that to market. He also mentioned marketing there, and one of our advisors, Robin, actually helped him create a viral video, which was seen, I think, over 100,000 times on TikTok, and led to more than 1,500 downloads of the app. So just real clear impact there from the support from the advisors on that one. So I think that brings us to the end of our presentation.
Thank you very much for that. I'll open it up to questions. Councillor Masters, Councillor Nottage, and then Councillor Whitaker.
Thank you for that. I'm totally sort of support what you've been doing. You know that. You know, sort of, I mean, the benefits to my ward have been quite substantial. There are three main hurdles, though, to actually rolling it out. All right. First of all, a lot of the businesses don't actually own the premises, and which means they can't access the grants and can't do the sorts of, you know, engage with what you're trying to offer. So that's one sort of disadvantage. The other thing is, if the area is improved, like through the Economic Recovery Fund with the trees and the benches and the banners and all the rest of it, making it nice and bright and encouraging footfall, rents tend to rise when the lease lapses. And unfortunately, that's made the difference between some businesses being able to continue and some that don't, and that's really frustrating. The third thing is the makeup of the high street, because if a shop becomes empty, then the premises owner tends to go for the highest sort of offer, which at the moment seems to be vape shops, barbers, rather than sort of, you know, sort of, if you like, an eclectic mix that would sort of fit in. And some of these businesses, you know, some of the existing businesses, rather than renew their lease, they just find it's easier to sort of transfer to an online offering only, which increases traffic on the suburbs and all the rest of it, and doesn't sort of actually sort of improve the scheme at the high street. So, have you found ways around this at all?
I'll just come to your first point about accessing grants, Councillor Master. So, a business that has premises on the high street, basically they can access the productivity grant. There would be no reason why they couldn't access a productivity grant, for example. And if they have a long-term lease, they can also access the low carbon programme. So they can access grants in our programme. Yes.
The problem is that the business owner won't get permission for it to happen.
For the low carbon grant, probably, yes. Right, okay.
They need permission for any kind of alteration to the building, and I find that really frustrating.
That's certainly something that we can look at in low carbon. The productivity grant is often funding products and materials rather than actually making any material difference to a premise. So they wouldn't need to have that conversation with the landlord. So they would be eligible for productivity if they're, you know, if there's productivity grants available. But we will look into your comments around low carbon, definitely. Just some of the issues around rents, lapsing and high streets. Do you want to comment on that?
So I think the high street challenge and businesses moving into premises is a planning area as much as it's not something that necessarily sits under our sort of remit. So what we can do is, and what we're trying to do is, by getting the high street advisors out there to support the businesses that are in situ at the moment, is trying to make sure that those businesses aren't having to close. So the support we offer means that jobs are safeguarded, the businesses are given sort of alternative paths to increase their revenue so they can stick around the high streets. In terms of the rent themselves, it is a challenge. It's a national challenge, and it's not something that other than us offering further support to try and help grow these businesses, it's not something we can address directly necessarily.
You know, better results. So I'll leave it there, but yeah, it's just flagging up the concerns, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Nottage, please.
Really short one, Rob. How come the Launchpad pop-up businesses are shutting on the 20th? Because from personal experience, the 23rd is a really key shopping day.
It's a good question. So essentially, we only have the venue for a really short period of time because someone else is, hopefully there's someone moving in at the start of next year. There's also an event happening in there on the 22nd, and also we have to consider staff, so we have to have Business Sheffield staff on site to cover the site, and there wasn't availability for that period of time.
I'll try and be more organised this year and get down on the 19th.
Councillor Whittaker, please, your question.
Yeah, thank you. Just a very simple one. The facts and figures. I take a bit of getting my head around the figures, but they can be quite important. So Launchpad, page 78. You received 697,556 and paid out in grants 158,355. So is that 414,000 the indicative budget for 25-26, the sort of balance of the two, or is that more funding? And in which case, what happened to the balance between the two first figures?
Yes, I'll just explain. The budget for the 2-year period when we had more shared prosperity funding included an amount for grant funding, which we don't have this financial year. So the amount of total funding for 23 to 25 was 697,000. The amount of total funding for this financial year is 414. So yeah, no, one doesn't cancel out the other. They're two different figures for different financial years, a 2-year and then a 1-year. And it funds our advisor team, our networking programme, and some of the support staff who support the arrangement of those workshops and networking events. And like I said, our advisor team as well. Okay, sorry for the confusion, yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Councillor Ullah.
I just got a short comment. I just want to say thank you to everyone involved with Business Sheffield. It's clear from the case studies and the data that you guys are doing fantastic work for our city. You're helping local businesses, they've got in jobs and bringing investments. So I just want to say thank you and pass my thanks to all the team, please. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And that, I think, brings us to the end of this item. Only it remains for me to say that. Thank you very much for the report. Thank you very much for the case studies. I think it really does bring things to life rather than having a big, long report, which is wonderful. But when you bring that in, it tells a story, doesn't it? And that is very helpful for people to understand. And I can actually vouch for the fact that district centres are being regularly visited, because I think I've been on 5 or 6 with you now, Rob, if not more. And we've got some others planned as we move into the new year. So there is a lot of visibility happening out there, large and small businesses. So that is all good work that's happening at the moment. And I think we'll continue with the visits, because we learn a lot from them, a huge amount. And I think we are going to be visiting your ward soon as well, Councillor Masters. So yeah, thank you for all that. It just remains for me to move towards the recommendation. Is everybody okay with the recommendation? Thank you so much, and thank you for the report, and thank you for taking the time to do the case studies as well. Thank you very much. It remains for me to ask Jane to come with some wonderful financial news. I know she's waited a long time to bring this to us. So thank you for waiting for such a long time. We've got literally 22 minutes for this item before I have to officially ask for extra time. But I don't think we'll need it, will we? Yeah. Unless you get really excited about Q2 budget monitoring. So over to you, Jane.
Well, thank you, Chair. I'm Jane Wilby, Assistant Director of Finance and Accounting, and you're right, it's far less exciting, this topic, than what you've heard today, so I do apologise for that. But it is important that we do come here and provide the update for transparency reasons, overall context of the environment we're operating in, and for good governance. So I'll provide an overview of the 25-26 budget monitoring position for Q2, highlight the key pressures, actions underway, and the outlook for the remainder of the year. So at Q2, the Council's projecting an overspend of 23.6 million, which is 4.6% of our net revenue budget. It is an improvement of 4.6 million on Q1's results, which reflects the impact of the targeted mitigations and the tighter spend controls. So our aim is to reduce that overspend to below 20 million by the end of the year and continue to drive the reduction of those overspending areas.
So the key drivers remain the same and consistent with previous reports that we've discussed in adult social care, children's services and homeschool transport and homelessness services. So in terms of actions and mitigations, there is targeted work underway and senior leadership is closely overseeing that recovery. In adults, the overspend is forecast at 29.7 million, but this is a 1.6 million improvement since Q1. The focus is on cutting non-essential spend using technology and consolidating transformation projects. In children's, the position worsened by 4.9 million to the 19.8 million overspend due to rising demand, particularly in expensive placements. The service remains committed to reviewing these placements, expanding kinship care and developing new fostering models. In homeschool transport, the positions remained stable from Q1 with a 6.6 million overspend, but actions around demand management, expanding personal travel budgets, improving fleet efficiency and reducing single taxi occupancy are underway and expected to yield results in the next quarter. Homelessness services are forecast at 2.1 million overspend on temporary accommodation, but this is a comparable improvement of 5 million on the previous year, and the actions being taken are making a real impact to reduce the use of temporary accommodation, including stepping up prevention activities, introducing occupancy controls, improving void turnaround times, and a change to allocations policies that have all made an impact to the budget. As a response to the financial position, organisation-wide spending controls are now in place, which include recruitment restrictions, vacancy budget factoring, and tighter controls on discretionary spend have been implemented since September. There is an established exemption process for resourcing decisions that have roles that are regulatory requirements, health and safety critical, income generating or grant funded posts, or if they have a direct impact on delivering the Future Sheffield programme. We have seen a 3.7 million impact of introducing these vacancy budgeting factors and a positive response of services who have recalibrated forecasts to ensure that spending plans are now aligned to new reduced expenditure targets. Corporate mitigations of 22.8 million have also been released into the outturn, which include provisions for housing benefit subsidy loss, high cost placements and the use of our 24-25 collection fund surplus, which usually we would have taken to reserves. At the end of Q2, the Economic Development and Skills Committee is forecasting a small underspend of £500,000 against a net revenue budget of 11 million for the current financial year. The underspend relates to the Connect to Work funding alongside the staffing vacancy management savings and events funding. Continued monitoring and proactive engagement with funding partners is essential to maintain that positive trajectory for the committee and to deliver planned objectives. As we've seen today, there's a big reliance on external funding within these committees' budgets. Overall, the environment is challenging and with continued uncertainty around government funding, we expect to receive the full details of the multi-year settlement next week to enable us to finalise the budget setting for 26-27. So whilst we've made progress in reducing that overspend, significant pressures still remain and our focus is on maintaining those robust controls, improving processes and delivering transformation so that we can be a financially sustainable organisation. So I'm happy to take any questions on the overall financial position or anything related to the committee.
Any questions? No? Sure. There you are. It's so well done there that they've got no questions at all. So thank you for that, Jane. I think we're all pretty much aware of this because there's been a regular update over the year. We are not in the crisis that other areas are in. So we're doing slightly better, but we are reliant on external funding on this portfolio in particular. So thank you for that. All it remains for me to say is thank you very much for everybody. Oh, sorry, move the recommendation. I've got really excited and missed that. Can we move the recommendation, please? Thank you. Right, all it remains for me to say is thank you for everybody's support up until Christmas. It's been very helpful. I think the committee's worked fairly well, and we've supported quite a lot of... we've got 3 portfolios, and each one of them is doing wonderfully well. So thank you to all the staff who've supported us up to Christmas, and I'd like to wish them a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and see you in 2026. Thank you so much.